Before we get into business, um, I got a completely unexpected response from somebody a few months ago, and I just wanted to share it because it's very short. But somebody told me the sound on these videos are hard to hear. Can you do anything with that? And I could not help but laugh because I thought nobody in the world, including myself, wanted to hear more of these recordings. But for that person, and if there's anybody like you, uh, I love everybody who's watching these videos. I love everybody who is intended to see these videos. And but I do love perhaps you all who want to hear a little bit more, maybe just a little bit more than everybody else. So, with that said, just want to take a little bit of time to zoom out and set the context. So, a few years ago, there were, of course, some challenges with our former church in some ways, or a church to which we're less tightly connected, um, and still trying to figure out our relationship with it. But um, those are pretty thoroughly in the past, and those concerns, I would say. Then I thought there was just some confusion and complexity regarding the situation that wasn't clear to decision makers in the Four Cs. And so over the last year, I thought that I would uh, try to make the case that yes, there's something where more detail needs to be found, or more detail should be explored, and we should seek a fact-based, evidence-based, truth-based resolution that hopefully leads to reconciliation and, where necessary, repentance. But after a year of watching how people respond, including people in leadership, I think that unfortunately the issues might be far deeper, and that an investigation is not going to occur by the people who are tasked with shepherding several people in their care, and I would argue have mis-shepherded them. So, with that said, just to let you know, give you a little bit of a roadmap for what the next number of, I believe, years is going to look like at this rate. I'm going to first, and this will probably take 1 to 2 years, I'm first going to spend some time walking through in more detail my story and my relationship with the Four Cs over time. And that's not because I was grossly mistreated or because my story is more important than other people's. It's mostly for two reasons. One, my story is mine, so I have more legitimacy in telling it. And two, my story is a little bit illustrative. And what I mean by that is I want you to imagine, as we're walking through the details of my relationship with the Four Cs and how it has evolved over time and certain events that have occurred in the last few years, I just want you to imagine that the way decisions are made and the processes that are followed, what if major decisions that influenced people's careers, or influenced people's broader reputations, or influenced people's sense of spiritual well-being, personal well-being, social well-being, etc., were being made. And I think you'll see that there needs to be, and it's fine to have a lack of attention to detail. It's fine to, not necessarily be on your game or seek all the facts or everything. I mean, we can only focus on so much, right? But when it comes to interacting with people in a way that causes extreme hurt, I do think that there's a stronger burden of proof that is required. And I hope everybody would agree with that. And I think a lot of our society is structured that way. A lot of our church is structured that way, etc. So again, telling my story for the next year or two is not because I think I've been terribly wronged. And it's not because my story is important. It's because after that 1 to 2 years, it's probably going to be another 3 or 4 years of going into a lot more detail of how the Four Cs made decisions that impacted other people. And I think you'll see that some of those details are not necessarily mine, and I'm going to have to thread that needle appropriately. But when we walk through line by line and unpack the logic and unpack the decision-making process and unpack the facts and how they were selected, I think we're going to see pretty objectively that the process was wanting, and hopefully we can work together to hold our leadership accountable. So that's estimating how long I think it will actually take to walk through things at a level of detail that will satisfy folks and satisfy the situation and give justice. It's going to take a long time. And unless I'm released from that, I do feel, I think, a sense and responsibility to have this thorough documentation up there. And unless I'm released from that in the interim, it's going to be a little while. And I think it's important. And I wish somebody else would do it, but nobody else will. So here I am. Anyway, so that's just a little bit of a roadmap of this is a pivot point into, going from broad strokes, essentially accusations or claims, and starting to get into the details that underlie those claims. And so I think that's it for now, and we'll go from there.